Recording is on.
All right. So what do we got here? 11 of us here. Well, it is 8 o'clock, so why don't we get the ball rolling, get the show on the road here. So good evening, everyone. What was that?
Time's a wasting.
Time's a wasting, yeah. So, okay. So yeah, I guess looks like just about everybody is muted that is not talking, more or less. So if you can just double check that, please. But all right. So at the risk of being possibly a little politically incorrect here, I've warned one of us here that I'm going to do this, but what the hell. I'll begin tonight's homebrew meeting by acknowledging that we are meeting on land that has been inhabited by protons, neutrons, and electrons, and even stranger things from the beginning. And I mean the beginning. As settlers, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all of the home brewers who have taken care of this land for decades. Long before today, as we gather here, there have been thinkers who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the founders of our club in 1964. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution that all of the 2- and 3-letter suffix homebrewers have made, both in shaping and strengthening the community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. As settlers, this recognition of the contribution and historic import of homebrewers must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to understand the promise and the challenge of the Wufong and the Ready Snitch, 2 gruesome instruments of excruciating torture that are used to enforce law, order, and decency in amateur radio operation. I'll just leave it at that.
I don't think I'm going to top that next month.
Well,
all right.
Who was using the radio waves before the band was created? All the spark gap people.
So, welcome, March 3rd, AF Mixer. So, before we begin, is there anyone else other than Dave that has a, I guess, mini talk that they want to do tonight? Do you have any people that want to do anything? No, over and above? All right, then. So, the lineup for tonight, going to briefly talk about posting our videos that we've recorded to a YouTube account. Then Dave is going to do a small talk about one of his microcontroller projects. We'll have the usual round screen, I guess we'll call it, what's on your workbench segment, and that probably will fill up the better part of an hour. So, so yeah, as I mentioned, I have created a generic YouTube, I guess a Google account for doing our postings to YouTube. So we have 22 meetings recorded so far that are ready for posting. At the moment, they're stored on my personal Drive account, which I've put numerous links in the groups.io posting for, I guess, all of us to access, but we want to take this a little more public. So does anybody that is assembled here tonight have any, I guess, issue with making these videos public? I mean, as I gather, I haven't done a whole lot of YouTube uploading, posting, channel posting, whatever it's called, but there's 3 options. There's a, just totally public, like most YouTube videos. There's unlisted, which means only people with the link can get it. So again, that can, keep it a little more private. We can decide who we share it out to. And then there's totally private, which I don't think you want, because that's invitation only. It's sort of like a one-on-one with as many people as you want, but it's not even a link that works unless you're, I guess, waitlisted. So Peter, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I don't have any objections. And I know when we first started talking about this, about 2 years ago or whatever it was, we kind of did a bit of a poll then and nobody had any objections then. But no, I don't have any problems with it being public. I mean, that's what it's for, right? One question I did have about it was that, and it crops up every once in a while, but our presentations, the slideshows, should we upload them to the same spot? Or should we upload those to the club website? I'm thinking Groups.io may not be a good place for it because of file space restriction. Anyway, just food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, most people that do have links when they do post on YouTube have links in the comments to each video. So I guess it really depends on the groups.io how much space we have. If we're getting close to running out, I have no idea. If we are, I mean, for small files and that kind of thing, I think we have what, a gig for our section or something like that.
Yeah, but we share it with 2 other groups within the club. So maybe what I'll do is, if you think it's a valid thing, is maybe upload them to the club website. I'll talk to Peter Taylor, the webmaster, but the last time I did talk to him about it, I don't think there is any really restrictions on file. Well, there is a file space limit, but it's way up there.
The other thought is that, you know, with this Google account that I've created for posting the YouTube videos, it has 15 gigs of drive storage that's not utilized by the videos at all, right? The videos are unlimited. It doesn't eat into your 15 gigs, so we could just use that.
Let's just use that. That makes it simple. Everything is in one spot if everybody else is in agreement to that.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think with the videos on the site, it's done through WordPress. So he can allocate as much space as he wants for that stuff. If he's getting low, he can allocate more space.
Okay. Dave, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so Eric, you said exactly what I was going to say, is that with Google and with Microsoft, you get, like, I think Microsoft gives you some huge amount. If you use their service, especially if you're using Office, if you bought Office 365, I think you get like a terabyte or something like that you can use. The issue is going to be in sharing. How we're going to be able to share that easily. The other option is to just use GitHub. GitHub, as long as it's public, as long as these things are public, we could easily set up a GitHub account and we can get access to it. And it's simple to go and post stuff there. And most of the time it's going to be read only in any case. You're just going to be pulling stuff up. And, you know, not everyone is going to be posting stuff. So that's another option as well.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what the file types are, right? I mean, if we're just talking PowerPoints and pictures, that kind of thing, PDFs, then yeah, I guess we could use anything. But keeping it within, I guess, the Google environment keeps it simple too, right? One-stop shopping, and you can make those links public too, so anybody can click on them when they're watching the video and go to it. So,
what about posting, Eric? If it's your Google account, can you open it up so everyone can go and write to it?
Good question, actually. I don't know if you can make a Google Drive folder public for write access. That is a good point. On the other hand, I mean, we could share the password for the account, this account that I've created just amongst us, and then anyone can go in and upload to it. So
Doesn't the club, don't we have a little bit of money? Couldn't we go and just spend some money and get it like a Dropbox account or a what's the other one? DropNet or Dropbox? And
well, actually, with the Google Drive, if you have, as long as you have a Google account, you can be linked, and then I believe you do have shared access to it. So, you know, anyway, I think
everyone's going to have a Google account. We should just keep it simple. Something that's dirt simple. Everyone can easily access it. And I know a Dropbox, you can open it up for like public access.
Right.
Whoever's invited, they have read-write access, and they can post, delete, add, whatever they want. So yeah, something simple, Eric.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, with Dropbox, what you get 5 gigs, I think, just for the asking, right? So
yeah, I don't know how much it is, but it is. I think
that's right. Yeah, it's only 1 gig. Yeah, you're right, Peter.
If it's
you have to do some kind of jazz to get a few extra gigs or whatever. But anyway, okay, I'll check it out. Like I said, might try to. I mean, is there anyone here who does not have a Google account? No. So, you know, that's pretty ubiquitous. So. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to start uploading videos tomorrow. I can't do it so easily from home because I've only got a bank upload, but at work I've got, I don't know, 15, 20, something like that. So be a lot more efficient and, you know, keep my mind off of giving people COVID vaccine injections, whatever. So.
And what was the issue, Eric, with putting it on YouTube? Because YouTube, you could put as much as you want on there.
Oh no, it's upload bandwidth at home here. I've got kind of limited. I've got data caps and bandwidth caps too. So,
well, send it to me if you've got a Google. If we choose to do you,
well, that's the whole point. It's just that, like, uploading it from here to you to anyone is slow, right? That's why I just put it on a dry. I already have it on a little stick in my bag. It's ready to upload at work tomorrow. So that's all. So anyway, all right. Well, you want to leave your mic? Oh, it's already muted, but we can go ahead with your rocket altimeter talk if you're ready to go, Dave.
Sure. Let me, where am I here? Okay. So yeah, this is just a really short talk. So, so basically what I'm going to be doing is just, I've got about 5 or 6 of these little talks, and they're maybe 10 minutes apiece. This one's like 9 slides, you know, it's going to take like 10 minutes to go through them. But what I thought I would do is I would start doing little microcontroller projects I've done, and I would encourage others to maybe do the same if they've got a little microcontroller project they did that they could also present it. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as creating slides. You could just talk about it, what it does. So back in 2008, I was launching lots of rockets. I'm going to ask you guys what's the significance of this background too at the end of the presentation. I'll see if anyone knows the significance of this background. But anyway, so back in the mid 2000, early 2000, mid 2000s, I got big time into rocketry, launching high power rockets. And one of the challenges was finding out the altitude that the rocket goes. So you could go out and buy these commercial altimeters. They were somewhat expensive at the time. And being a cheap guy, I wanted to build my own, and I thought it'd be pretty cool to build my own. So I needed something low cost. It had to be light. It had to be small because it had to fit into a rocket. And at that time, most of these altimeters used pressure sensors. You know, GPS wasn't big back in those days, and you know, accelerometers were quite expensive because these days you've got the altimeters that use accelerometers, and they integrate the acceleration to calculate speed and then distance traveled, and they can do it reasonably accurate. So in the theory of this, if you look at pressure, the pressure at a fairly low altitude, you know, to 5 or 6 or 7 miles in the air, it's fairly linear, the pressure versus altitude. So because it's linear, if you know the pressure, you can get your altitude. However, there's an issue, there's a problem we've got, is that, you know, the pressure at the surface of the earth changes hour by hour, day by day, minute by minute. You've got a cold front going through, you've got various fronts, and the pressure changes. So this line changes, it moves. So you can't, it's very difficult to get the absolute or get the altitude above ground because it's changing. So you always have to look at getting the relative altitude, and that is you take the pressure, the current pressure at ground level, and then as the rocket goes up, you take the pressure reading at a certain altitude, you subtract the two, and you use that to get the relative pressure reading, and then you could get the altitude. And in fact, that's how airplanes do it. You know, the old school altimeters had a little setting here at the side where you would set the altimeter, the pressure at the airport which you're flying out of or arriving to. And I've got a little recording here. This is for an ATIS. This is an automated terminal information service. So at large airports that have like a control tower, typically they'll have an ATIS, and it's a frequency where they broadcast a whole bunch of information about the airport. And here, this is from Sudbury. I'm just going to play a short little snippet of the ATIS from Sudbury, where they call out the altimeter setting.
Airport information, Lima, weather 17000, wind 150 at 5, visibility 20, ceiling 22,000 broken, temperature 22, dew point 5, altimeter 3028.
So right there, you said altimeter 3028. So aircraft inbound, set your altimeter 3028, and all of a sudden you're now calibrated for that airport. You're not going to tent peg into the ground. So the altimeter, I bet this was very early in my, building circuits and building boards and stuff. And so the board I built, there was no copper pour, there was no ground plane. It was star wired grounds. If you look at the grounds, they're all like not even star wired. It's like a mess. So there's all kinds of ground loops and all kinds of issues. And if you look here, there's very little decoupling on the ports. There was on the pressure sensor, which is shown here. This is the pressure sensor here, big sucker. And I had a couple of decoupling capacitors there for noise, but nothing on the microcontroller. And it was a PIC 16F88. Back in those days, I primarily used PIC. I was a big microcontroller person. And even you look at some of the voltage dividers I've got here, there are no power decoupling on it whatsoever. So this was an early attempt, and you'll see later on that it didn't work out very well. Software is quite simple. It's basically, I've got a routine here, and basically what it does, it calculates the voltage and it subtracts it from a baseline. What's not shown here is when this microcontroller starts up, it takes a whole bunch of samples of the current pressure at the rocket when it's on the pad just sitting there. So it's got the baseline of what it is at ground level. So it knows the pressure at ground level. So when this routine is called, it reads the current pressure, subtracts it, and then stores it in this thing called delta voltage. Right? And so so what happens is that I take the delta voltage and I multiply it by a conversion factor to give me the altitude. I check the altitude if it's over a threshold, like say my pre-launch, the reading is say 5 to 10, then I'll say the threshold to say 20. So once that threshold hits 20, I know the rocket has moved up a substantial amount of altitude. And in this case, with this specific thing here, it was 1 count equals 30 feet. So this structure, with that value, it's set to 30. So each delta count of the ADC is equal to 30 feet. So once the threshold is met, I say it's launched. So it starts recording. So every so often I've got an interrupt running, which is, you can't see it. I didn't bother printing it, but there's an interrupt that sets this flag, this save sample flag. And whenever that gets set, I write the value to the EEPROM. So it's fairly simple. There's no, as long as you understand what it's doing, this is fairly simple to go and create this software. And if you look at the data from an actual launch, I dumped out the, as always too, if you look here, I've got a little routine here, and with all my microcontrollers, I've got a CLI. So, and that allows me to go and control it and get data and set various parameters. So here you can, the D command dumps out the data. So I just take that data, copy it, paste it in Excel, and I print it out. And that's giving me the altitude here. And so here, if you look down in this, this is the settings I've got. This is telling that setting specifically there is telling me the baseline at the ground level. The pressure reading was 30. So these values are 8 plus 30. So that's actually 38, but it subtracts the 8 from it, right? So we're getting the delta value. So this was the actual board. And so I did all kinds of ways where I tested the altimeter. I put it in rockets, launched it, and writing the software and troubleshooting the hardware and doing that, it was a royal pain in the butt. I even used to take it up with me flying just to check to see how it's working. And this, it was slow to develop the software. It was extremely slow and tedious until I figured out, I had this brainwave that why not use a Tupperware, seal it, put the microcontroller in there, use a syringe and suck out the air of it and simulate the rocket going up in the air because the pressure decreases as you go up, right? So once I did this, the development of software went so fast. So then in subsequent revisions of this, you could see all of a sudden the smoothing is the data is not as jumpy. If you go back here, look at how jumpy the data is. There's a lot of noise in that data. So here the data is a lot smoother. And these are two different versions, two different launches. And now the interesting thing is you can see right here, the curve is fairly smooth except for this point and except for that point. Does anyone know what happened? What's so special at that point in a rocket's flight?
Yeah, I think I have an idea, Dave. Is that where the where your parachute pops out?
Exactly. That's exactly it. So right there, the trick is you want the rocket, the rocket to break apart. The parachute comes out right at the top here. So you get the maximum altitude, maybe a little bit after. So if you look at this, this is perfect. The rocket opened up just after apogee, right? And here it opened at apogee. So this here, I didn't get quite the maximum altitude. It could have, who knows, it could have gone up a little bit more, then start coming down. But you could see the noise here is a lot lower. So that's basically it. That's all I want to talk about. Does anyone know the significance of this picture in the background? Does anyone know what that is?
The Black Brant.
It is the Black Brant, but what else is significant about it?
Churchill.
Churchill, Manitoba, yes. That's exactly what it is.
My dad wired up that rocket.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I was at a remember the York Hamfest? My rocket club used to has a booth at both the park, what's the park one in Peel? What was it called again? Hammocks. At Hammocks and at the York Hamfest, we used to have a booth, and there was one time we had a booth at the York Hamfest, and this guy came up to us, and he was an older guy, and he was a radar operator at Churchill. And he told us all kinds of stories he had about working at Churchill, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, my dad worked up there as an electrician. He wired up the rockets.
So that's it. That's the segment. I kept it short and sweet.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Dave. Peter, you had something to say?
Always. Dave, was that the only microcontroller you used in that project? I mean, as you gained experience, did you switch over to an Arduino, or you just left it with a PIC? And
No, I would never use an Arduino in any of that stuff. Never.
Too slow?
It's Mickey Mouse. It's It's Mickey Mouse. Those Arduinos you get, they're too big, they're too heavy. It's far better to get a little microchip, a little tiny little thing. I would use the Atmel chip itself, but I wouldn't use an Arduino. I wouldn't use an actual Arduino Nano or something like that. It's too big, it's too heavy.
No,
it's funky. And it's slow. It's running at 16 megahertz.
16 megs is not enough for what you need to do?
Nah. Well, yeah, it'll probably work. But, if don't forget, some of my rockets are going like Mach 1.
Like, what did your pick run at?
Oh, they're running, I think you used to clock it. You could get them up to like 30, 40, 50 megahertz, something like that. Some of them are running 100 megahertz.
So
that's all internal. That's all getting the internal, same as the, well, I think the Arduinos, they actually have an external clock, right? They have an external crystal to drive the Arduino.
what was the maximum height you attained, Dave?
With all my launches,
Yeah.
6,000 feet.
Did you ever put a camera on board?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I think you got a couple of YouTube videos, don't you?
Yeah. There's a couple of YouTube videos where it shows the grandson of this altimeter was an actual board. I don't have it nearby, but it's an actual board, and it's got a downlink. It's got an XV downlink. It's got GPS accelerometers, gyros. It was a whole flight control system, and it monitored acceleration, roll, everything of the rocket, and it was broadcasting it in real time via a telemetry downlink. And I could send a command up to tell it open the parachute to deploy the parachute. So I had a bidirectional comm link with it.
Did the parachute command work every time?
No, I didn't dare.
Oh.
No, you never. Plus, you want the rocket to do its own thing autonomously. You don't want to go in there, because if the rocket's going up and you cause it to open, and it's going Mach 1, and that thing opens up, it's going to shred. It's just going to get destroyed, because it's just going to rip the parachute right off, right? And even coming down, if you open it too late on the curve coming down, it's going so fast, that parachute will open and it'll just rip it apart.
Dave, you mentioned early on when you were building that first board that you mentioned about lack of decoupling capacitors and stuff. Did you add them in later on? And
oh yeah.
And did you notice there was an improvement to the performance?
Huge. And then having a proper ground plane, and having not everything because at the time I'd run a ground to here, and then from there to here, and then from here to here. So it was like a bus. And it just added all kinds of noise. Once I got the concept of a ground plane and connecting everything to a ground plane, all of a sudden my noise just flattened right out.
All right, that's good. Live and learn, right? Experience is what counts in this hobby. So applying things that you learn to other projects, right? So, all right. Thank you very much for that, Dave. Appreciate I think the first of several. I think you've got other microcontroller projects on the schedule for future mixer meetings. So look forward to that. All right, so we will move, I guess we're about the half-hour mark here, into our What's on Your Workbench segment. So starting with perhaps Dwayne, I see you at the top of my screen anyway, at the top of the clock. So why don't you tell us what's going on in your end?
Oh, I haven't been doing too much in the way of electronics. Been doing a lot of 3D printing. I had ended up dropping some stuff on one of my nano VNAs and cracked the screen, so I decided to build a case for it. So I basically came up with This is the latest one I did where I've got a built-in spot for the VNA cables and everything like that. And I've got a whole bunch of them printed for other things that I need to do some design work on. And that's about it. But I do have a big pile of boxes setting up already now on my blog. I got some pictures of a bunch of the ones that I've printed.
Which 3D printer do you have, right?
I've got a Creality Ender 3.
Ender 3.
You know,
okay, you're happy with it?
It's a great printer, you know, for under $200.
Right. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, 200 American, 2,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
Actually, Dwayne, could you post the link to where you got that from, or at least the name of it? Because I wouldn't mind checking it out.
Just go to Amazon, Creality Ender 3. There's a whole bunch of them out there right now. They're all about the same.
What's it called? It's
Ender 3 by Creality. They got Ender 3, they got Ender 5. There's about 3 or 4 versions of them.
Ender 3, ENDR?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's Crealty, like there's no I in it. So Creatly, I believe, is the company that cranks these things out. So yeah, it's a very popular model. I mean, if you look into the 3D printer world, there's all kinds of references, forums, support, all that for that platform. It's probably the most popular, low-end platform for 3D printing. Get into the Prusa and that's a different category, and I think you're paying somewhat for get what you pay for with the Prusa stuff, but the Ender 3 is a nice entry point, I think, for people.
Yeah,
so.
they're under $300 on Amazon.ca.
Yep, delivered to your door. Yeah, very good. Okay.
Is that Canadian?
Yep, Canadian.
Yeah.
It's Amazon CA. So it's Canadian.
And they're open source too.
Okay, Peter, you are next on my hit list here. So go ahead and tell us what's going on.
I thought I had a lot of time because on my list I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
Things have not been going well in my shack this last month or so. I thought, as you know, some of you anyway, thought I picked a very easy project to take on that would take me an afternoon or a day at most, and here I am 6 weeks in, and it's still, as a matter of fact, I'm worse off than I was when I started. I've probably let smoke out of more boards and parts in the last 6 weeks than I have in the last 10, 15 years. It's unbelievable. I got a mountain over there. I've fried power supply boards. I've fried a couple of nanos. I've fried an op amp, and who knows what else. I've lost track. So taking on the simplest projects doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be the easiest. Who would have thought that a simple voltmeter project with the Arduino? I thought I was fancying it up by having an op amp in there so I could read negative voltages, only because I didn't want to reverse the leads. Anyway, I've taken the last couple of days off from it. Oh, then the latest thing I thought, well, for a power supply, I thought, well, I'll just hack into an old wall wart. I added a regulator and a couple of capacitors into it and stuff like that, and the Nano won't even run on it. So I thought once I couldn't figure that one out, at least not yet, I decided to give up for a couple of days. So I did some FT8, FT4 today, and a little bit of CW practice last night. So I'm changing gears. Other than that, depression talk, not much else.
Right.
When it does work, I've had it working, and when it works, it's great and it's accurate. So that part I know, but it's to get it to work. Like I had the last kick of the can it was working fine, and all I did was move something ever so slightly to take. Can you believe it? I wanted to take a picture of it, and then poof. So anyway. That's it for me.
That's what happens when someone says stick a micro into it.
Yeah, but that model's been going on for what, 15 years, 20 years now, and this is the first time it backfired.
Well, just think how bad it is now, how worse it could be with lead-free solder, right? So, all right, Mr. Rajnath, you have anything else to share with us tonight?
Yeah, just that board I just flashed up. That's what I've been working, Peter. That's what I said I was working on last night. So that's my little mock-up. I got back to doing my transistor tracer, and because the way I was doing it before, I was following someone's internet posts, and I just can't make that thing work properly, you know. So I decided I'm going to design mine from the ground, from scratch, and so I've been playing around with MOSFETs and transistors, biasing them just to control the voltage that I'm going to supply to the transistor so I could trace it. So I'm just starting from scratch, and I'm going to build my own. But that's kind of what I've been working on. That and doing presentations.
Is this all so that we're going to win the next 2N2222 challenge?
Who, me? No, I'm not going to do that.
No, but that's what the tracer is for, isn't it? To test our.
No, I just want to do it.
No, Eric, you're right. That's where the transistor curve tracer came into play, was to talk about the 2N222 challenge at 4 days in May.
Yeah.
And then we'll move it over to Ken's department.
And the problem is with the internet tracers is that you get them and they're all low current. They're all, you know, they're doing these traces and they're very low current. They're not actually stressing the transistor out to the limit, so you get to see all the traces, right? And so that's a problem with those things, is that it's a toy. You can't really get any meaningful data from it.
Well, I look forward to seeing this because I don't have one of those on my bench, Dave.
And just think, you can add an op-amp to it once he gives you the schematics.
An Arduino.
Okay.
Yeah, you need something to run higher current, because when you get those fake 2N2222s from China, they only operate at high currents.
Right. Okay, Ken, well, you are up, so you can keep on rolling there if you like.
No, I've got nothing on the bench except the same old garbage I had there last month and the month before and the month before. I've been doing more reading than anything.
I was just going to say, so tell us what you're reading.
Yeah, I've been looking at, still looking up verticals. I've been looking at 4-neck 2. Not much reading, watch a couple of videos and stuff. Mm-hmm. Other than that, not much going on. I'm doing more work than I am doing playing.
Okay, fair enough. All play and no work makes you, I don't know, poor. So, all right. We next have Al. You are
okay.
On the hot seat.
At the bottom of my page. I must be halfway up on yours.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, I've been playing along, still working though, so not a lot going on. I guess one update on my vacuum tube DCR receiver. I've parked that for a little while because I'm losing a few more hairs over it, but I've managed to characterize a couple of tubes and slowly learning vacuum tube technology. But I'm running these tubes at 12 volts, which is extraordinarily low, with positive control voltages in order to get them to work. So it's kind of interesting, but I backburned that out of frustration for a little while. So the past month I've turned over to something quite mechanical, actually. I was looking in QSD magazine and online, and I started to drool over some of the CW straight keys you can get. So this is the latest development out of the OWL shop, is my new straight key. So solid brass, and just finished that up last week. So hopefully I'll get it on the air sometime soon. So,
wow, look neat.
Oh, nice work.
Yeah, thank you. It's it's a little bit of a break away from the wires, but still, it's ham radio, so I call it homebrew. So there you go. Apart from that, the next week's project, I'm looking to do a dummy load for QRP. So for some crazy reason, I decided I was going to try to put a dummy load in a spam. So I got it roughed out with the panels and everything. The internals are still empty. So next time we talk, I'll have a report on it. But it seems to work. Why?
There you go, Al.
Yeah, because I can.
Peter's version.
Excellent. Yeah. This is a little bit big, but I was looking at spam tins, saying, well, why not? What can we do in a spam tin? Actually, I was going to put a spam filter in one, and then my partner, she pointed out that Maple Leaf Foods offers a product the same called Click. So maybe I can do a CW filter in a Click can. Anyhow, that's what I'm up to right now. More mechanical things, but maybe in the next month or two, I'll get back into the vacuum tube project. So that's all I've got to report today.
Al, do you do all of your machining at home, or do you have access to shared equipment?
It's all in my garage.
Oh wow, okay.
So I've
what
been in that garage for years.
What tools do you do like to make that straight key? I'm just curious.
I have a full machine shop. It's compact size, but metalworking lathe, vertical mill, bandsaw, metal cutting bandsaws, drill presses. So fairly reasonably well equipped. It's all old school. I don't have any CNC because most of my stuff is one-off. I'll call it maintenance or repair. So I haven't. I don't have the space actually to go CNC. Maybe someday, but I'm going to have to retire and win the lottery before that happens. So I'll throw that out at you, fellas. If anybody ever needs something drilled, turned, or milled, I can't guarantee it, but I have the resources. I'd be glad to help anybody out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's your address?
On in his garage.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, thanks for sharing that with us, Al. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah, I kind of like the fact that the order is not the same on everybody's screen. Keeps everybody on their toes. Who's going to be next? Who's next? Next is Howard on my list. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Haven't been doing much. Just been doing a little work on the capacitive paddle for the QRP kit that I don't have yet, and just thought I'd try that with an Arduino for just a proof of working. And that's pretty well what I've been doing.
What kit are you waiting for?
The QCX Plus.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it has a built-in keyer, so I just need a paddle, and instead of a mechanical one, I thought I'd try it this way.
Is that something new? I didn't think you had a plus line out.
Well, I'm not sure about that. That's what I'm going to find out, but I wanted to play around with that anyway. So.
Okay. No QSXs yet, are there?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. All right. I guess he's on the same timeline as Rex and his AT2 tube project. So, Peter, you had your hand up there?
I think you're asking about the Plus one. The Plus, I believe, is pretty much identical to the regular QCX, except it's in a smaller package, I believe.
Should be the QCX minus then, no?
Yeah. I think it comes.
Isn't it the Mini is the same as the Plus? It's just smaller.
I think so. I think it even comes with a case and everything.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Howard. Phil, you are the next contestant, so come on down.
Okay. As Howard mentioned, and Peter's been pushing it, we here in Carrick's in Kingston are planning on the 5th of April a QRP night with a little homebrew type transmitters or transceivers. So I dug mine out from a number of years ago, which I haven't used in a long time. It's pretty basic. It's a Rockmite, half a watt, built into a little switch box here, and it's not very fancy, but it's got all the connections and everything. So I dug that out yesterday. I hadn't seen it for, I think, 4 years. And I put it on the air yesterday. I didn't make any contacts, but I was able to, it's crystal controlled, so I was able to confirm what frequency I was on, which is 7.028. So Peter, your rig, I think, will cover that. So that's that was a plan. And while I was doing that, I ran across another a receiver, like a QRP type receiver that I got from somebody. I have no idea where I got it or who I got it from, but it's kind of neat looking. It's well built. I don't know whether it was a kit or just a plan, and the guy did a good job of building it. Now I got a couple of actual slides here. I'll show you a little more carefully. But he did a good, if it's homebrew, totally, he did a good job of building it there. It's a standard direct conversion receiver with a NE602 and an LM386, which is pretty standard, I guess, for those simple-minded direct conversion receivers. So I have to confirm what voltage it runs at. I think it's going to be 9 volts. Peter, I think, said try 6, but maybe I'll try 6 first. But definitely not 12 by the look of it. There's no regulators or anything on it.
No, I think you better watch the 602. I think max is on the 602. It's about 8 volts, I think. Phil.
Yeah, well, I'll start with 6, and if it works fine there. But the curious thing is, I've got to find out what band or what frequency it covers. It might be a broadcast band AM or something, but I think it's probably going to be 40 meters. But I have to try to figure that out. I'll just share my screen here with a couple of close-up pictures of it that I took. And you'll see it's fairly well built, whoever put this together. And I kind of suspect it was a kit, but don't know that it was a kit. Maybe a guy designed it himself. So that's one of them. And a closer look at the actual board. That is pretty simple-minded. This part here with on the antenna end is kind of interesting. Probably some sort of a filter to maybe get rid of AM broadcast or something like that. So it's just a curiosity piece because it was sitting somewhere in a box for a number of years, and I've never used it. So with the QRP day on the 5th of April, it was an excuse to have a look at this one too. Okay, that's all I've got then.
Yeah, you should be able to, I think it's pin 6, put a frequency counter on it, and you'll see what frequency it's running at.
Pin 6 of the 602.
Yeah.
Okay. All
That's
right.
the LO frequency. That looks like it's using a cap and a Toco coil.
Okay. So if you had to guess, what band would you say it might be set up for? Hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
What's that filter look like it would do?
Probably a low frequency. I don't think it's going to be up like, I don't even think it's going to be 20 megahertz because it's a LC oscillator, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. My hunch is look at the size of board. I didn't see a lot of inductors because I know with my bit X20, I had to wind a whole bunch of toroids to get the LO for like 20 megahertz.
Okay, well, if I'm able to figure that out, what frequency it's covering, and it's got a nice dial in the large capacitors there, so it'll probably cover a fair range and fairly accurate. But if I figure it out without letting the smoke out of it, I'll let you know sometime in the future.
Yeah, yeah. The Toco coil has a primary and a secondary. They use that for the IF coupling. And they're probably using one side, either the primary or the secondary, as the L part of the LC.
Okay.
And you could tune it with the slug a little bit. So I think if you just hang very carefully, put a frequency counter on pin, I think it's pin 6. I don't know offhand. You should be able to measure what the frequency of the LO is running, and that basically will be the band that you're running in.
Yeah. Okay, I will do that.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for that, Phil. Peter, I did got wind of this QSO that's happening on, I think, 5th of April. Is that something that you're planning to post on the Peel group's site? Is that even going to be feasible that people in our neck of the woods be able to likely get in touch? Is it like we're doing digital or?
No, we're going to do, the idea was to homebrew transmitter CW 40 meters.
Well, that's digital of a sort.
Okay, yeah, digital. Very, very slow baud rate, though.
Right, right.
But,
okay.
Well, you know what? Why not? If nobody's not doing anything, why not? You know, see if you can hear us and see if we can hear you.
Like, this isn't going to be a near vertical kind of thing, is it?
I guess, yeah. I mean, more the merrier would be interesting. And worst comes to worst, if there's a bunch of guys from Peel doing it, and maybe even if only you hear yourselves, that's still something, right? But the idea was to take something that we decided that the simplest thing you could have, and if you didn't have it, you could have it built in time, would be a transmitter. That's the simplest one to build. So that's why we said, at a minimum, a homebrew transmitter.
Okay. So that's the price of admission, though, is you need some keying skills, or at least a keyboard and a CW keyer. So
you got.
And we probably coordinated it on Jitsi because not everybody's going to necessarily be on the same frequency. If people have a crystal rig, we may have to accommodate some movement around the band there. So we'll probably be on Jitsi and make it a little easier.
Yeah, I've already started to. Okay, I'll do a listing here for Peel as well. Then at your suggestion there, Eric, and I've already started to take a bit of a survey to see what the frequencies are that everybody's capable of doing. And then I think, as you mentioned there, Phil, there's a little bit of a variance there. So not everybody may be able to talk to everybody. Just to let you know, Phil, you're off by one for me. You said your rig was 7028. And I can go down to 7029. I suppose I could modify my rig to go down one more, but if I'm going to do that, I'm going to wait for a while because I'm jinxing everything I'm touching at the moment.
Well, the Rockmate has that little button on it. That little red button, if you push that, it switches it by 1 kilohertz and it goes up to 7029.
Perfect.
Go halfway.
okay, great. So Hassan, you're up.
Okay, so I just got something yesterday. I'll turn on my camera. Okay. This is an FPGA card, PCIe based. So I decided I'm not getting any younger. I might as well buy this before, while I still have my eyesight. And I'm going to plug this into my computer and use it as an FPGA. The reason is because all the other kits I have are USB based. And I'm tired of these USB cables and these UARTs and stuff. Can't figure out how to use them. So this way I can talk directly over PCIe with no delay, and hopefully it'll be faster. And it's got Ethernet output and HDMI output as well. So let's see what I can do with this.
Do you have any projects in mind already? Like, what's the first thing you're going to tackle with it?
Probably something for work, because we're going to use these things there as well. So I'll just play around with it. Just a basic hello world. But first thing is going to be a Mandelbrot set generator. I'll generate the Mandelbrot set and pipe it directly over HDMI to the monitor. Next thing is it's too difficult to put a radio connection yet. So I already have another SDR. I mean, this would have been ideal for like if it had a radio built in. I think I might do a video input output. So video in, just overlay some text on it, video out. And then once I get familiar with it, I'll try to do some test equipment, things like that.
Yeah, cool. What's the chip that it's using that FPGA? Is that like a Xilinx? Or,
yeah, Xilinx Zinc. It's the Zinc based one. This is
Right.
orders by A-Links. It's reasonably priced. It's not. I mean, these FPGAs can get ridiculously expensive, but it's a couple of $100. There are cheaper ones, but yeah, like fast I/O is the real name of the game. I mean, I'm just tired of using USB connections and 100 kilobits per second UARTs. This way, I can actually dump things as fast as I can and just plot them on the screen. So it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's true. It does seem silly having an FPGA and then being limited by a slow I/O, right? So.
Yeah. I guess one more thing I want to do is actually put a radio outside by the antenna and have an Ethernet cable come into the house, and then maybe this thing can kind of talk to that. So that might be something to play around with.
Okay, Ken, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, if you're going to do video overlay, why don't you just go a step further and get into SSTV?
That's interesting. Problem is I'm not actually digitizing analog TV. This is just HDMI in and HDMI out.
Yeah, I was reading somewhere a couple links back a couple weeks ago. Guys were using the FPGAs for SSTV.
On what channel? Like 900 megahertz?
I don't know offhand. I don't recall.
Okay. Well, yeah, actually, that's totally feasible. That might be. I'll try it out. See what I can come up with.
Okay, Hassan, great. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, and moving along, Wayne, you are the next person in the roster.
Okay, so.
Nope, did we just lose Wayne? I think he might have just disconnected. I guess we'll...
probably meant to unmute.
yeah, hit the cancel key or whatever. So it'll probably take him a minute to get back in. So why don't we come back to him right after we talk to Drew? Are you able to go ahead?
Yeah, I am actually.
Okay.
I've been on a bit of a kit building binge. I'm far behind any of the assembled in terms of knowledge about this sort of thing, but I find I can buy kits. And Peter has exposed me to the 4-state QRP website, which as a result kind of yielded a couple of builds on how to change my, I have to change my camera here so that it actually goes to where it should go, which is to the front. Bear with me for just a moment. Haven't done this one yet. Toggle camera. There we are. So what I have in front of you then, and I'm sorry for the light emitting diode frequency flicker there, is a Cricket 40 that I put together about 2 weeks ago. And it's a simple crystal controlled machine. Comes with 2 crystals. So I get to span from just about where Peter cannot receive to I think just above where he cannot receive. So fortunately for Peter, he probably won't be able to hear me. It's at 7028 and 7.120 are the crystals. And having had success putting it together and playing with it, I then went to another machine, which is called the Bayou Jumper. The Bayou Jumper is a one of their offerings for a Paraset. So it's a really neat kit, great deal more detailed, and actually includes a toroid, which is the first time I've seen one of those. So we built a toroid and we built the kit and it transmits, and the next step is to find out whether or not it actually receives properly, which means setting up the regenerative receiver. And so it's an exploration for me, as I haven't done a lot of this. It's been a lot of fun putting it together, and that's about as much as I have for this group.
Okay, Drew, I appreciate that little overview there. I think you have a question from Al.
Ah, indeed.
Yeah, Drew, I've been following the Bayou Jumper, and it's been discontinued. And I'm just wondering where you got your hands on that, if you found a new source, or is this a kit you've had for some time?
This is the newest revision. It came out around. I happened to luck in. They are currently selling them. they're gathering enough parts to send out another group. I bought this, I think, first part of February. So yeah, February 3rd. So it, with all the knobs and stuff, it's really very cool looking. Yeah, so they have more kits being assembled. As I say, this is revision 2B. So they've gone through the white panel and the green panel and now the blue panel. So if you go to the 4S QRP site, they do have them offered for sale with the condition that it's understandable it'll take a little while to get it.
Very good. They
Yeah,
certainly
they're a
look
lot of fun.
very attractive when they put them into a wooden case and make it look quite retro. I've always wanted to build one of those.
Me too. And I've been after something like this for a long time and I stumbled into it. The sad part is the wooden box is not available in Canada. That is their version of it. So I spent Sunday trolling Michael's looking for a box similar. Didn't find one, so it looks as though we're going to be cobbling together a little box. But yeah, it's absolutely retro. It's a toy. Has its own little key thing over here. So I mean, it's all this super secret stuff, but it's just fun to put together. It was really a nice kit. I will warn you that the capacitors have insanely small numbers on them, and they warn you about it several times. I had to use 2 levels of magnification and a very bright light just to see it. So the capacitors are a challenge. The rest of it's fairly straightforward, and it goes together in about, well, for me, I was slow, so about 3 hours, 4 hours, but it's a lot of fun.
And Drew, what's the name of the?
This is called the Bayou. This is called the Bayou Jumper.
Okay.
BAYOU, which apparently relates to one of the constructors. And it's a semiconductor version of the original Paracet. It kind of looks like one. It's not, I don't think, it has a regenerative receiver. This knob here is actually a chicken head knob. You switch it back and forth, receive and transmit. And it arrived without a set screw. So that's a challenge. I've asked them to send me a set screw because it's an odd size. I'm going to try and see if I can get one to go. And they missed one JFET. So I had to go over to our local supplier here and buy a JFET for it. And of course, you know, you try it out at 2 o'clock in the morning because that's when it's done. And I've got a few things to figure out yet because it's not right where it should be, but it's a lot of fun. These kits are a lot of fun. And it's not expensive. I really, for what I received, I think I got the better part of this deal.
There we go. Hassan, you got something to ask?
Yeah, what's the kit called again?
It's called, it's from 4S QRP, 4-state QRP, and it's called the Bayou Jumper.
I was going to ask you to post a link in the chat, but I think we've probably said it enough times that you've done your penance.
Yeah,
well, fair enough. Yeah, it's a challenge. I know.
I just pasted the link.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks,
It's easier for someone with a real computer. I'm doing this on an iPhone, so it tends to be little fingers and trying to figure out how it all works. Someone else can do it faster.
Yep, Ken saved us.
So this is all inspired by this. This is all this inspired by this QRP night on April the 5th. The rest of my time is spent trying to get my Morse code up to something that isn't gibberish.
We'll find out April 5th how well you did it.
I can already tell you what my prediction is. It'll sound like someone has a branch wiping against a wire.
All right. Well, looking forward to it. Thanks for sharing that with us, Drew. Appreciate it once again.
Thanks for asking. Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Okay. So, Wayne, you're back. And I guess you got to press the right key this time.
Yes, you want to stay away from that big red button.
Yeah.
That's not the on-off. Okay, so I've been doing too much in the last little while. I have I've got this filter that I've been working with. It's a double tune filter with a voltage controlled varactor tuning element on it. And what I've been trying to do is to see how few bandpass filters I can get away with for a complete coverage for a shortwave receiver. So based on my experiments, because I've done a few of these things, I think I can get a decent shape to a filter and stay decent if I move it a little more, no more than like an octave and a half, like 3 times. I go beyond that, the coupling or the Q just ruins the shape, right? Because the Q goes down as you go up. So, anyways, if that's true, that means I might be able to do most of the stuff I'm interested in listening to. Just 2 of these guys. Well, that's about it. I am actually right now waiting on a TFT. All right, TFT. Yeah, I'm waiting for a display module because there's this thing I want to build really bad. It's an SI 5351 VFO that uses it has a rotary dial on it. I think Dwayne, you made one because I saw it on your blog. But so somebody come up with the idea to use a little, here it is, a little microcontroller, and use a TFT in it and some software that this guy's built, and it puts a nice little rotary dial in there with your rotary encoder. It looks just like an old style tuner. That's just cool. So gotta have one of those. I can I'll put it right up now. I've got it here. So I put it in the chat. The link, it's about midway down the page on the link in the chat. It looks awesome.
It's another 4-state product. Yep.
And that's it.
Okay. Appreciate that sharing as well. Thank you very much. Let me just get back here. Ken, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just back to that Bayou Jumper. I just looked it up. It's a 5-watt output Class E transmitter. So it's very efficient, and the heating will probably be really low.
Mm-hmm.
I posted the link for the Cricket 40 as well, which is a 0.5 watt transmitter.
Okay. See that there. Thank you very much. All right, moving along. Jerry, what would you like to share with us tonight?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to, thanks to Peter, after picking the wrong spelling of park, I eventually did make it to this. I'm mainly an observer, but I play around with many different things. I do not know if you can see this because I don't know if this works. Do you see this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the new Pico, P-I-C-O, the Raspberry Pi Pico board, which is a new chip that they put out, their very first chip. And that's one of the things I hope to play around with. I also have been playing around with Node Red on a Raspberry Pi 4. I know that Kevin has done that before, and that was my inspiration, I guess. Enjoying that. I enjoyed the talk about field programmable gate arrays. I just the other day ordered one out of Terrasic in Taiwan, and I'm extremely impressed that I can click a button and get all sorts of things happening. I get tracking. They tell me it's at this place in China, and it's in that place in China, and then it's on a plane to the United States. And the last thing they told me is I had to send them $21 more for something called import duties, and I did that, and I hope that arrives. Essentially, I jump around so much that I do nothing, but I enjoy the journey, and I don't want to bore you with all the details of that journey. Thank you.
Well, it's never boring. You never know what door you're going to open up for somebody. So please, share away. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it, Jerry. Hassan, you are first up, and then Dave after.
Yeah, Jerry, which board did you order from Terrasic? Jerry?
Sorry.
Which board did you order from Terrasic?
I did not order the board. The board is the DE10 Lite that I got to them because there's a course on Coursera that started just at the beginning of March. That's a free course. It's about field programmable gate arrays, and I noticed they were using the DE10 Lite. I do not plan to take the course because of time, but I started going around, and I ended up at Terrasic, and while I was there, they had a book, and I looked at the contents of the book, and I liked it, and that's what I ordered. I did not order the board from them. I think if I do order it, I saw something with Intel having that board, but that's the board.
Okay, that's probably a good one. 10 Lite. I think it's a couple $100.
It's only because I know nothing. I'm one of those people that I know not of that of which I speak. And Bernard Shaw said that that's a clear bent for a political career, but I'm not pursuing that. I essentially just am interested. It takes so much time to actually follow it at a detailed enough level to do things. So you have my admiration that you are a doer.
Thank you. But if you ever see a course by Stephen Brown, he's a professor at U of T, but he actually designed the DE series boards, and he designed them for his own course. And he makes it look so easy, it's almost embarrassing how straightforward it all seems. He explains everything so well and so simply. So if you ever see a course by him, try to take it, or try to just take a look at it. Highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hassan, I was going to ask you actually if you had any pointers as far as people that were interested in, the programmable gate arrays, getting into that. You don't have any links, I suppose, by the sounds of it, for those courses, do you?
He has a bunch of labs on a website. I'll have to dig it up though, and I'm not sure it's properly packaged in the course material, but I'll find something and post it to the group.
Yeah, great. Okay, because I'm sure there's some people whose interests are piqued by that if they don't have enough things on their bench already. So, okay, so I guess the penultimate round screener would be Kevin. You're on. Oh, you're muted.
There. Okay, I didn't hit the disconnect button, so that's good. In the spirit of knowing the test equipment, as I was talking about at the beginning of the meeting, I'm trying to get ready for the presentation next month to do all the decoding for the SPI, I2C kind of protocols with a scope. So I've been just messing around with that, learning how much I don't know. And but yeah, it seems to work. It's not as elegant as I thought it would be, but it does seem to pick up the data. But then trying to interpret the data and know that you're getting the right data is the hard part. So I'm discovering. So anyway, talk more about that the next full meeting in April. So, but anyway, that's all I've been doing. Not building anything, just learning.
Yeah. As a fellow ham radio Workbench podcast listener, speaking of scopes, not related to what you're going to be talking about, but I think, didn't they mention something towards the end of the show that W2AEW has something new about scopes, some sort of, did you catch that? I think it was maybe a presentation to another radio club, possibly. Does that ring any bells?
To be honest, I'm not even through that podcast yet because it's like, what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm almost through it, but I'm not to the scope part yet, so I haven't chased anything. But Okay. Yeah, no, I'll listen to that. Yeah, because I should go online and see what's on there, because I'm sure there's some stuff that will help me through it. But there's things like the bits get inverted, and stuff's happening. But anyway, it seems to be working and decoding consistently. But I'm having trouble trying to relate that to the actual data that's getting transmitted. So anyway, I'm sure there's a way, and I just got to find it.
Yeah. Well, just again, that was mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. I think I'll put a link to that podcast, the current one, most current one from those guys. It was, I think, something that everybody will get something out of in this group here. So little tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. It's just an interesting journey listening to all trying to create a $250 or less budget workbench. So always something to learn from those guys. So, all right. Well, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that update and look forward to your presentation. So, all right. As far as myself, last regular meeting 2 weeks ago, I guess you guys all saw me madly soldering away. I was participating in an online build, and it's another group that I'm a part of. And what we were doing is putting together, actually, the person in Sweden, I believe he is, Christian Blazol, but this is a power supply unit. So the group that I'm working with is doing modular synthesizer project, a DIY version of that. So this is something that required a 12-volt AC input, which was kind of interesting. So I was kind of wondering, why are we using a 12-volt AC input from the wall? A 120 down to 12 transformer. So that had to pick one of those ones up at A1 Electronics. So apparently the rationale, I guess the too long didn't read answer to that is that switching wall warts are really awful for modular synthesis. It just messes up the oscillations and all that. And this keeps it simple having AC. The AC comes in, I guess, as both positive and negative. There's a couple diodes on there that split it into the positive, negative direct current. Goes into some voltage regulators to give both 12 and 5. Couple biggish caps on there to I guess clean and smooth the power out a little bit, and voila, you've got what you need for modular synthesis modules down the line. I'm not sure what the current that this can handle is. That's still to be determined. Kind of learning as I go with this, but all of my kit building and all that in the past has made something like this a breeze to put together, and actually passing some things on to some other people that are doing this project. There's about 10 of us or so in the Toronto area that are all working together, getting the boards in bulk and bulk purchases of the other components and what have you, and doing that. So Peter, you had a question?
Yeah, can you mail it to me and I'll try it out on my voltmeter project?
Sure, absolutely. It's robust. Come on, all the solder joints. It worked the first time I made it. So anyway,
I promise.
Smoke it, Peter.
Smoke. All right. So that is what that is for those that may have been curious about it. And no news, unfortunately, from Rex Harper, W1REX. Got an update from him mid-January about his now almost lapping by a year FDI buildathon project. Actually, there was a couple emails that just came through today, people getting kind of irate that nothing has happened. He just keeps giving updates every few months, but without producing anything. And the 15th, he said he was going to post some videos. I haven't checked whether he's done that or not yet about the section builds and that. But quite a few people stumped up money for him, and I guess somewhat rightly so. He's starting to kit things for the QSO Today Ham Expo that's coming up a week from Saturday. That's another thing you might want to put on your list if you haven't already. I think there was some discussion in our groups.io about it, but there are actually 4 builds going on during that event. 2 of them by Rex, so it's again where people are getting a little bit miffed at him. He's got a 20-meter transmitter kit and a 20-meter mini sudden receiver that is mint tin friendly, as Rex often does. Tuna cans or mint Altoid tins. But the other interesting things, and this might come in handy if it gets built and works in time for the Kingston QSO, is that Dave Kripe of the actually, well, whatever, everybody probably knows who he is, but he's doing a build-a-thon there at the QSO Expo, the Ns40 transmitter. So just to read his little teaser here, it's a 2-transistor master oscillator power amplifier circuit. It's got a 2N7000 crystal classy finals, a low-pass filter in it. So, and last but not least, and this is kind of related to, I guess, what Drew was mentioning earlier, but there is a 4-state QRP kit that goes along with the Cricket. I think you put a link to that, Drew. The Crick Key. So Joel Eisenberg, who is a regular speaker at Hamvention, is actually doing a build a kit thing online. So I found that building as a group was actually quite good. Basically just everybody has their camera on, sort of what they're working on generally, and it's a pretty easy forum for assembling things. Your brain seems to be able to do both things: listen in the background, chat, much like you would in real life. So I think it bodes well for our build-a-thon that hopefully comes up for our DCR project at some point. So anyway, so yeah, that's what's keeping me busy over the last little while. So, but yeah, do have a look at the Ham Expo list. There's both a web page with the speakers as well as a spreadsheet version of all the talks that are going on. It looks like, I don't know, 5 or 6 tracks going on at any given time, but everything's recorded and viewable after the fact if you want to download them in bulk and watch them at your leisure afterwards. But certainly if you want to participate, the Eric Guth did a great job of it, I think, first time around last August, and this one will hopefully be even better. So that's something to check out. So. And yeah, I guess that brings us pretty much to the end. So anybody have any last remarks they want to make before we close? Anybody? No? All good? Okay. Well, in that case, we will see you all for our next meeting, which is a regular one, March 17th, 2 weeks from now. And have a good night.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, good
Very
night.
interesting. Thank you for
Bye,
inviting
everyone.
us.
Night all.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Eric.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
I'll be back in 1 minute, Eric.
Sure.
So Eric, what's happening?
What's happening? What's happening? Well, it's nice to see. It looks like Jitsi has lifted the session time limit. It didn't stop the recording. Either it was a fluke or what they've not limiting it to 60 minutes anymore. So that's nice. What's new? I don't know. Not a lot.
So you think that you guys going to be handing out vaccines?
We are just waiting for word. I mean, I'm all ready to go. I bought a purpose freezer that's already tested. It can maintain -25, -30, no problem. So just waiting for distribution to happen. I've got people lined up to do the vaccination. Already got lists of people. I mean, I'm not starting to book anybody because we don't know when.
How are you going to book them? Is it you booking them or the ministry's booking them? Because from what I've heard, the ministry's doing all the booking, all the tracking, everything.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting information every day, but there is a portal that you can go to. But whether that gives you the actual date and time, I don't know. They haven't really discussed with us what the protocol process is going to be for that, unfortunately. So it's been a little bit, what's the word? Not disheartening, but frustrating, I guess, that the government is not giving us a little more information, because we're getting calls every few minutes from people asking about it, right? So when are you going to get them? When can we come in? The 80 plus people are anxious, right? So
the hospitals. This was back in December before Christmas. We got called into emergency meetings